Our next honoree was an unbelievable amount of fun. William Finn was gloriously unconventional. He was big and loud and unfiltered and overflowing with life. And in his life and his work, he took shame and suffering and the feeling of being different and an outsider and embraced it, and he transformed it into acceptance, transcendence, and love. Bill's subversive and joyful March of the Falsettos in Falsetto Land introduced us to his hero Marvin and Marvin's hilariously dysfunctional family. These were the first musicals to address the AIDS crisis with deeply personal, funny, and often heartbreaking stories of queer life and non-traditional families that had somehow traditional family values. And in a time when queerness and AIDS were still taboo subjects in mainstream American culture, these musicals transformed the cultural understanding of what families could be and what compassion, courage, and love could do in the toughest of times. Within a few months of the triumph of Falsettos, which combined March of Falsettos and Falsetto Land, as long as it's not mine, I'm okay. Finn was diagnosed with what he was told was an inoperable brain tumor, and so what did he do? He wrote a new musical called A New Brain, and he turned his own medical crisis and brush with death into affirming, life-affirming, beautiful new work, and moving, beautiful new work. And then, with the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee, Bill surprised everyone with a hilarious and empathetic portrait of nerdy teens hell-bent on victory, in what may not be exactly a matter of life and death, but sure feels like life and death to those characters. Finn enlisted Rachel Scheinken, his former student, as a collaborator now, and Rachel wrote the hilarious, touching, and Tony Award-winning book. And together, they made us love their awkward adolescent outsiders and completely identify with them. Finn's influence didn't stop at his own work. He was also a passionate mentor. He founded the Barrington Stage Music Theater Lab, and he taught for years at NYU Tisch, fiercely championing the next generation of theater writers with the same eccentric brilliance that he brought to his songs. And another of his students, Michael R. Jackson, later said of Finn as a teacher, quoting now, "He championed the weirdness of my work and gave me permission to be me before I knew what me was." How's that for a wonderful teacher? It's our pleasure and honor to induct William Finn into the Off-Broadway Hall of Fame today, and here to accept our award on behalf of Bill is his producer, champion, and friend, the man who, according to Bill, quote, "changed my life and made me walk around smiling like an idiot." Please help me welcome David Stone. Okay. You made it.
I did.
Let me take a photo with you. Okay. Turn it this way. Whoops.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, David. I'll hold this.
Sure. Hi. When Spelling Bee announced its closing after a Broadway run of nearly 3 years, William Finn was quoted in Playbill as saying that his major regret was that he felt like he was losing a bathroom in Midtown. Bill had a unique worldview, and we all have stories. Some I'll share, and some I hope we can share together in a little bit. I first met Bill Finn in the fall of 1990. I had just turned 24 and had just seen Falsetto Land at the Lucille Hotel Theater. Bill remembered me as this little Jewy boy running around the Weislers. I had just started to imagine myself as more than an assistant. I believed I could become a producer, although at that age it seemed unrealistic, but not to Bill. He, and I should also say Stephen Schwartz, took my ideas seriously, took my plans and commitments seriously. He gave me the confidence to believe that my goal wasn't unrealistic. He showed up at every opening night I had off-Broadway and on-Broadway, and I do not think that it's a coincidence that the first 2 new musicals I produced on Broadway were written by Stephen Schwartz and William Finn. I think this is what he did for so many of us, gave us the confidence to make our own way. He was not necessarily easy to please, but he was so happy to be pleased. And when you pleased him, you wanted to keep doing it for him and for the world. His NYU students, 25 years worth, often tell us how much Bill taught them by any means necessary. But what about all of the people, writers, directors, producers, who he influenced indirectly through his work? It's one thing to leave behind this incredible body of work that he's given us, characters, songs, shows, as we could say, Dayenu. But I believe there's a whole list of other work that may not have been by William Finn, but is because of William Finn. Next to Normal, Fun Home, Dear Evan Hansen, A Strange Loop, Kimberly Akimbo, Maybe Happy Ending, and the list goes on. His legacy is truly profound. Gavin Creel had a tattoo that said both. Everything is both. Wonderful and terrible, simple and complicated, light and dark. Gavin said he wasn't sure where this idea first came from, but I'm quite certain that it came from Bill Finn. Who else but Bill could write For Unlikely Lovers, the most beautiful, heartbreaking, delightful song about facing death and saying goodbye? When we were coming up the center aisle after a casting session for the national tour of Falsettos in 1993, Bill fell sideways into the seats of the Golden. We all laughed because we thought he was just being clumsy, but he got checked out, and it turned out that it was the beginning of what he called his brain thing. He was gone for a while with his surgeries and procedures, and when he got home, I called him wanting to pitch an idea I had for a new musical. He said, "Come over right now." So I got to his studio. He said, "Sit." There was not 1 inch of the apartment that wasn't covered in stuff, so I pushed a few things to the side, sat on the edge of a bed or a couch, I'm not sure, and was the first person to hear a song he had just finished an hour ago. I knew nothing yet about the metaphor of Mr. Bungie, but I did understand that Bill had taken his paralyzing fear and turned it into complete joy. Both. That song was called I Feel So Much Spring from a New Brain at the Mitzi Newhouse Theater in 1998. Every one of Bill's shows either premiered or played its entire New York run off-Broadway. In Trousers, March of the Falsettos, America Kicks Up Its Heels / Romance in Hard Times, Falsetto Land, A New Brain, Elegies, the 25th Annual Putnam County Spelling Bee, Infinite Joy, Make Me a Song, Little Miss Sunshine. I believe Bill would have been especially honored to be acknowledged by the off-Broadway community where he created all his work. And having Spelling Bee reopen off-Broadway in a new 20th anniversary production at New World Stages this fall feels very much like a Bill Finn homecoming. On behalf of all the people who love Bill, thank you so much for this very special recognition.